beach buddies provide all the equipment. Really, all you have to do is pitch up at whichever location.
That's right. Yeah, and any age, families in particular, we like. We spend a lot of time talking in schools, and it's great when the children that I see in schools during the week bring their parents at the weekend. It's an activity that they can take part in. So if they're, for instance, going to watch the children play football or cricket or hockey, they have to stand on the line and hang around for a couple of hours. Well, with this, they join in, and that breaks another barrier as well. And they almost all, to a person, say, you know, I really enjoyed it, and I wasn't expecting to.
Bill's got a very big announcement, which we're gonna do in a moment. But first of all, in this equation, there are baddies.
Yes.
There are the villains
Yes.
in this. So
Yes.
if you imagine a white knight and a black knight, I want to talk about the black knights now.
Okay.
For decades, the people who have polluted.
Yes.
Who are they? How do we stop them?
What people need to understand is that when rubbish is found on the beach, you have to think about how it actually got there. And a lot of people used to say that it's because people are on the beach, they're walking along, and they just throw the junk while they're walking on the beach. That is not true at all. It all comes down rivers. And if you think about it, if you throw a piece of rubbish anywhere, doesn't matter how far you are from the sea, it'll go down a drain, it'll go into a stream and into a river system, out to sea and on the beach. And 85% of all rubbish is coming down rivers. So what our campaign now is not just to pick it up or collect it even in rivers like some fancy multi-million-pound schemes that are around. It's actually to go to the children and say, if you throw a piece of rubbish in your playground, it's potentially going to kill animals at sea, seabirds, fish, whales, dolphins, whatever. And suddenly they understand. And that is where we are miles and miles ahead of everybody else. And as there's one huge scheme being launched by these people in Netherlands, I think they've got $130 million collected, and all they're interested in is making money. They keep talking about it as an environmental issue. It is all about making money.
And that's where the public sometimes narrow their eyes.
Yes.
And they spot business in this.
Yes.
You're not about business, are you?
No. At the moment, we're all about education. I mean, that is the key to this whole thing, is to talk in schools as we do. And that's where people are looking on us as having taken the lead, because we have just thought it through and got to the point where that is the way to stop it, is to stop the children and adults, everybody, disposing of rubbish irresponsibly. It is a community problem. It's not a government problem. It's a community problem. We are the ones who are throwing the rubbish in the street. It ends up in the ocean. Therefore, it demands a community response.
Now, I've got lots of Irish friends. You've got lots of Irish friends.
I have.
But we need to talk about the River Liffey.
Yes. Right. If you go to the west coast of the Isle of Man and pick up rubbish, the chances are that the majority of the rubbish you find has got an Irish label on it. And that's because the prevailing wind is southwest. We also find things like this year we found a coconut, and not just a coconut that you buy in a shop, coffee beans. We found plastic ducks identified from a shipwreck off South America. So the whole of the Gulf Stream coming through the Atlantic is ending up, amazingly, in the Isle of Man. We had a message in a bottle from Newfoundland. So, but you're right, there you talk about the Liffey. All the rubbish that's being thrown inland in Ireland is ending up on our beaches. But by the same token, you think about it, the stuff say somebody dumps something in Crosby and it comes out of the River Glass here. Where's that going to end up? In Blackpool and Morecambe and places like that. And in fact, we went to Ravensglass to set up a branch of Beach Buddies, and we found milk cartons, Isle of Man milk cartons on the beach. So we all need to think about what we're doing with our rubbish. It's as simple as that.
And that's happening all over the world, because there are, is it 3 big vortices in the Pacific Ocean?
Yes.
Those big, basically...
Gyres, I think they call it.
They are hundreds of miles wide, and they're basically big whirlpools.
One of them is the size of Spain.
Of rubbish, just plastic,
that's right,
whizzing round in the Pacific Ocean.
And it's congealed in a big lump in the centre. Around the outside, it's the microplastic, small pieces about the size of your fingernail. And as it gets closer together, it's all tangled up with fishing gear and all sorts of stuff. And it is absolute, it is a chaos, absolute chaos.
Talking of fishing gear, do you find much fishing debris on the beaches?
The 85% that we talked about comes down rivers is from just domestic rubbish, packaging and things like that. 10% is fishing gear. But in terms of weight, then that's a whole different story. There's a big percentage in weight terms because it's big stuff like ropes and nets and fish boxes. I'm not really too happy with the fishing industry because they don't, this doesn't seem to end. There's a lot less domestic waste on the beaches now than there ever was, but the fishing gear is just the same as it always was. So that percentage stays. It has actually increased by volume of everything.
How does that end? How do you stop irresponsible fishing businesses out at sea lobbing plastic into the?
I know DEFRA are talking to them about a policy to try to change things. But they're not all Manx ships either. This time of year when all the scallop boats are out, they're not all from the Isle of Man. So it's a difficult one to challenge because, again, what is the fishing industry driven by is money. And I don't think they really particularly care too much about their environment, which is very sad considering that's where they're making their living.